7 Secrets from Hindu Calendar Art Part 1. Ganesha's secret: different people see God differently. This image looks like a family photograph, father, mother, and 2 sons. But this is no normal portrait. This is the image of a god called Shiva, a mountain mendicant, his wife, the goddess Parvati, who is a mountain princess, and their 2 children, Ganesha, who has the head of an elephant, and Kartikeya, who holds a spear. An outsider unfamiliar with Hinduism may find these images strange. How can someone have a river flowing out of his hair? How can anyone have an elephant head and 4 arms? How can anyone ride a peacock? How can these be presentations of God? And how can there be so many gods? But Hindus are comfortable with these concepts because they have been raised with these images, accepting them without feeling the need to rationalize them. These are images of their faith, transmitted over generations. Through them, Hindus are introduced to the notion of the divine. The Hindu notion of the divine is unique. Unlike in Islam, it is given form, which can range from plants to animals to human beings. Unlike in Christianity, it is not restricted to a singular idea. There are gods and goddesses, who are individually pieces of a jigsaw puzzle called God. A story perhaps best explains this. One day, when this family was sitting together, they were paid a visit by a sage called Narad, who loved to stir trouble wherever he went. "I have a mango," said Narad, "for your better son." "How can I decide which one is better?" asked Shiva, turning to his wife, Parvati. "Let them go on a race," said Parvati. "He who first goes around the world thrice shall get the mango." "Let it be so," said Shiva. Kartikeya, shown in image 1, immediately mounted his peacock and rose to the sky, determined to be the first to go around the world thrice. Ganesha, however, did not move. He continued to sit beside his parents, playing with his rat. Kartikeya went around the world once, then twice, wondering what Ganesha was up to. Ganesha still showed no signs of moving. As Kartikeya was about to complete his 3rd and final round, Ganesha got up, and, as shown in image 2, quickly ran around his parents thrice and declared, "I have won." "What do you mean, you won?" asked Kartikeya. "It was I who went around the world thrice." "You just went around our parents." "That's not true." "You went around the world." "I went around my world." "Tell me, which world matters more?" "The world is objective, my world is subjective. The world is rational and scientific, my world is intuitive and emotional. The world is global, my world is local. Both are truths, but, as Ganesha asks, what matters more? Every culture views the world through different lenses. For some, there is one formless divine, for others, the divine has many forms. Who is right? For some, there is only one life with no rebirth, for others, this is just one of many lives. Who is right? Answers to these questions are never universal. They are cultural. They spawn beliefs. From beliefs comes behavior that can make us either less tolerant or more accommodating. That is why my world does matter. Myth is an idea churned in my world, mythology is the set of stories, symbols, and rituals that communicate a myth. Like the idea, the stories, symbols, and rituals may seem absurd to the outsider, but will make perfect sense to the believer. This image is an example of this, as are the other images in this book. Each one makes sense to Hindus both in form and in content. They do not attempt to make sense to those who are not Hindus. They speak a language that is indifferent to rationality. And so, rivers spout from Shiva's topknot and his son has an elephant head. A subject such as this must, therefore, be approached with empathy and a genuine spirit of curiosity, realizing that these are windows to a culture's soul. Empathy is sorely lacking in modern times. Everything is judged. Everything is measured. All thoughts are expected to be legitimized through fact and evidence and mathematics and science. But many things in life cannot be explained with logic, least of all life, death, and God. What happens after death? Who knows? Different cultures have different answers. Each is a subjective truth. Each is, therefore, a myth, a story, a belief. Shiva is a god, he is not God. Notice the difference in grammar, a god, not God. The emphasis on the singular means there are other gods. This is the first thing that is unique about the Hindu world: God is not a singular entity. God is not a masculine entity either. As shown in image, Parvati, Shiva's wife, is a goddess, equal in stature to her husband. Ganesha and Kartikeya are gods, spelt without capital, indicating their lesser status relative to Shiva and Parvati. Ganesha removes obstacles and Kartikeya leads other gods in battles against demons, but when Shiva shuts his eyes, the whole world ceases to be, which is why Shiva is called the destroyer, and is considered God. Parvati is a goddess because she embodies the whole range of emotions from fear to love, from domination to affection, while Ganga, the river who spouts out from Shiva's top knot, is a goddess, her divinity restricted to the river she embodies. The idea is this: divinity is formless, but, being human, we require forms to comprehend it. Every form, by its very nature, is incomplete. No single form is capable of encompassing totality. Through several incomplete forms of gods, goddesses, gods, and goddesses, however, we at least have a sense of what the entire notion of the divine is. Things are not so simple. In a temple where Ganesha is worshipped exclusively or Kartikeya is alone, without his father or mother, the gods become God, finite manifestations of the infinite divine. Through forms, all cultures have expressed their own realities. Image is a case in point. It shows a four-headed man holding a book and blessing a parrot-headed sage. The four-headed man is Brahma, the first being who sang the Veda and transmitted it through sages known as rishis to humankind. The Veda is a set of hymns which serves as the wellspring of Hindu wisdom. These hymns are said to be timeless and universal and of non-human origin, and hence divine revelations. It is said that the rishis forgot the hymns during a great drought. Luckily they were recompiled by a sage who came to be known as Vyas, or the compiler. The parrot-headed sage is Sukha, the son of Vyas. Through him, all Vedic wisdom has come down to us. There are symbolic communications in this image of a four-headed man blessing a man with the head of a parrot. Brahma is male, his form excludes the female form. Thus he is incomplete. His existence implies the existence of the female. But where is she? She is the invisible idea that validates and completes this image. She is the formless knowledge that is being transmitted from Brahma to Sukha. She is called Sarasvati, a goddess sometimes addressed as Vedamata, mother of the Vedas. Brahma did not compose the Vedas. No man can create anything without woman, not even God. Some say she inspired him, some say he heard her. Either way, the Veda came into being. Brahma merely communicates it. The four heads represent four expressions of the Veda. They represent the four goals of life, each one validated by Vedic wisdom: dharma, righteous conduct; artha, economic activity; kama, pleasurable pursuits; and moksha, spiritual practices. Just as Brahma is incomplete without any of these four heads, life is incomplete without any of these four goals. Sukha means parrot. The parrot head of Sukha indicates that the transmission is parroted, hence flawless, without editing and interpolation. Thus the mythological image communicates the belief of a people regarding the source of their divine revelations and the transmission of that knowledge. Image shows a Hindu holy man, a hermit who has achieved full control over his mind and his senses. He has no desire to dominate the world. He has transcended all human limitations. When this happens, strange things follow, all conflicts cease. There is no tension with other religions. Goats and cows do not fear tigers. Serpents, known as guardians of treasures in folklore, share their wealth freely. In other words, the negative side of nature and culture is subverted. There is peace and harmony, fear and deprivation are absent. This is heaven, a perfect world. For Hindus, such a man who transforms earth into paradise is worthy of worship, not just as a saint but sometimes as an earthly manifestation of God. Image is a local manifestation of God. He is called Khandoba and is much revered in the state of Maharashtra. He rides a horse, and the woman with him is his first wife, Malsa, daughter of a merchant. The two demons they are fighting are Mani and Mulla. Sanskrit texts refer to Khandoba as Martund Bhairava, a fierce form of Shiva, local to the Deccan region. He is a Kshatrapala, a guardian of land. As a protector, he fights demons. Some demons, like Mani, who ask for repentance, become deities in their own right within the temple precinct, while others, like Mulla, whose image is embedded on the steps leading to the shrine, continue to be punished by being trampled on by devotees who come to pay their respects to Khandoba. Khandoba loves turmeric, his shrine, his devotees, and his images are covered with turmeric. Turmeric is a golden herb associated with antiseptic properties, and through his intimate association with it, Khandoba's role as protector is reinforced. Its bright yellow color suggests gold, and so, through turmeric, Khandoba's role as provider is also acknowledged. He is a virile god whose grace grants children. He has many wives, the first of whom, Mahalsa, belongs to the merchant community. The second, Banai, belongs to the goatherd community. There are other wives, one belonging to the tailor community, another to the community that presses seeds for oil, and one belonging to the gardener community. The tale of his many marriages binds various communities ritually through a single village god. Thus each community retains its own identity while being united through Khandoba. Together, they support each other in the struggle to survive. By linking Khandoba, a local village deity, to a pan-Hindu god like Shiva, the village becomes part of a larger Hindu community. The village is unique, yet part of a greater whole. Its local god is a local manifestation of a more cosmic god. Thus the mythology of Khandoba communicates the belief of the believers. They want a god who satisfies their local needs, provides for them and protects them. They also want to retain their local family and village identity while being part of a more global Hindu identity. Thus they have a deity who is both god and god. This image introduces us to another pan-Hindu god, Vishnu, who is quite unlike Shiva. While Shiva is a mendicant who lives atop a snow-clad mountain, Vishnu is a king who reclines on the coils of a serpent that floats on the ocean of milk. At his feet are his two wives, Shri and Bu, goddesses of wealth and earth. The lower half of the image is a local manifestation of Vishnu. It is Tirupati Balaji whose shrine is located in the state of Andhra Pradesh. The story goes that Vishnu left his abode and came to earth searching for his wife, Shri, who had walked away after a quarrel. While searching for her, he fell in love with a princess called Padmavati whose father ruled a kingdom located in the shadow of 7 hills. Like Khandoba, who wooed his many earthly wives, Vishnu decided to woo Padmavati. After many romantic adventures, she agreed to marry him but asked for a huge bridal price. To pay the price, Vishnu took a huge loan from Kabura, the treasurer of the goddess Shri. So long as Vishnu is in debt, he cannot return to his heavenly abode with either Padmavati or Shri. So he stays atop the 7 hills in the form of Tirupati Balaji. To help him repay his debt, devotees offer him great wealth. In gratitude, Vishnu grants them blessings of prosperity and abundance. The goddesses in this image one hail from Gujarat. Known as Chamunda and Kotila, their red and green saris, their tridents, their lion, and their location atop a hill indicate that they are local forms of the pan-Hindu goddess, Shakti, also known as Parvati, the princess of the mountains, who married Shiva, the mountain mendicant. Thus they are goddesses and goddesses, much like the god/god in images 2 and 3 though known only locally. Through them devotees become part of the larger Hindu community. No one is sure why the goddesses appear as twins in the image. Some say that Kotila is Kamunda's sister, others say she is her companion. The two goddesses perhaps represent the two forms taken by the goddess to kill the two demons Chanda and Munda, after whom the goddesses came to be known as Chandi and Chamundi. Maybe Chamunda, she who killed Chanda and Munda, is the goddess, and Kotila, the one who resides on the peak, is the local goddess. Unlike in images 2 and 3, Chandi and Chamundi have no male attendant or consort because marriage is supposed to domesticate. These two goddesses are warriors, and their martial potency is retained by not allowing themselves to be diverted by matrimony or maternity. Taking their cue from the transformation that is happening to the hermit depicted in image, many scholars are of the opinion that village gods, like Khandoba for example, were local heroes deified by legend. Perhaps Balaji was actually a wise stranger who married a local woman and transformed the community around the 7 hills. Maybe the two goddesses were two ordinary women, sisters or companions, who earned the admiration of the villages with their martial skills. Such conclusions are attempts to rationalize a religious practice, and rarely have an impact on the faith. This image is certainly of a historical figure who was transformed by people into a goddess. She was the 12th century Tamil poet Saint Undal, also known as Godai, the one given by cows, so named because she was found as a baby amidst grazing cows and was raised by a childless temple priest. Undal grew up and fell in love with the presiding deity of her father's temple. She would put the flowers meant for the deity around her neck and then give them to the deity. This angered the priests who thought her touch defiled the sacred offerings. But then the deity appeared in the dreams of the priests and informed them that he liked the offerings more because they had been touched by one who loved him truly. Undal eventually came to be known as the consort of the temple deity, and over time came to be regarded as a goddess. In her image she has only 2 hands, indicating she is human, and she holds a parrot and a lotus indicating that she is associated with the principles of love, for both the parrot and the lotus are associated with Kama, the Hindu Cupid. Belief in the notion of humans marrying gods and goddesses no doubt led to the medieval practice of devadeses, or brides of the gods, who lived single lives in temples, singing, dancing and even providing sexual pleasure to priests and pilgrims. While it was largely women who were married to temple deities, men were also similarly dedicated in some parts of India. In the shrine of Khandoba existed Vagyas and Muralis, boys and girls dedicated to the deity, who were not allowed to marry and were expected to earn a living by singing and dancing. These practices that were open to all forms of exploitation have since been struck down as illegal by the modern Indian state. Not all deities are associated with a particular geography. This image of Vishwakarma is associated with the community of artisans. He is worshipped by people who use tools. Vishwakarma is an ancient god, the Vedic Vulcan. In Vedic times, he was known as Tvastor and was god to potters, metalsmiths, carpenters and weavers. Vishwakarma rides an elephant and this equates him with Indra, the king of the gods, the Vedic Zeus. Similarities between Kama and Cupid, Vishwakarma, and Vulcan and Indra and Zeus do lead many to hastily conclude that Hindu mythology is similar to Greek mythology. But Greek mythology is quite different from Hindu mythology. It reflects the subjective truth of the Greeks, which was radically different from the subjective truths of the Hindus. The Greeks did not believe in God, they had gods and goddesses, but no god or goddess. The gods of Greek mythology became masters of the universe by overthrowing the Titans, an earlier race of powerful beings, who in turn had become powerful by overcoming giants. Such a theme of repeat succession is missing in Vedic literature. Unlike Greek gods, the Devas, Hindu gods, never feared the Manavas, humans, would overthrow them. Devas did have enemies known as Asuras, but these were not Titans. Both the Devas and the Asuras were children of Brahma and their fight was an eternal cyclical one with alternating victories and defeats, believed to represent the alternating cycles of sowing and harvesting. Not much is known about Vishwakarma. Some identify him with Brahma himself. He is said to have given shape to the world. It is he who fashions the child in a mother's womb. He made the weapons of the gods. He designed the city of Amravati, the abode of the Devas located above the sky, which humans consider Swarga or paradise. He transforms the knowledge embodied in Sarasvati and transmitted by Brahma into tools that help men survive and thrive. While the god in image previously is revered by artisans, the goddess in this image is much revered by a community that is marginalized by mainstream society. This is Bahuchara. No one knows what her name actually means. Some say it is derived from Bahuakara, many behaviors, perhaps acknowledging the tolerance of the goddess, for her devotees not only include men and women from local communities in Gujarat who desire children, but also Hijras from many parts of India, who seek gender fulfillment. Hijras are men who feel they are women and so do not live in mainstream society. They dress as women and live with other Hijras in the fringes of society, begging or even prostituting themselves to earn a living. Some Hijras castrate themselves and while doing so pray to Bahuchara, the goddess who once turned a woman into a man, allowing her to be a husband to the woman who had been given to her as a bride. According to the story told by devotees of this local goddess, 2 friends met in a fair after many years. Both their wives were pregnant and a holy man informed them that one would be the father of a son and the other would be the father of a daughter. To seal their friendship, the friends decided to get their unborn children married. To the horror of the parents, the son turned out to be a daughter. The truth was kept hidden as the holy man promised them that what was foretold would certainly come to pass. The girl was brought up as a boy and in due course was asked to go and fetch his bride. With trepidation, she traveled on a mare to the village of the bride. On the way, both fell into a pond. When they emerged, she had become a man and the mare had become a horse. A bitch who was following them and had also fallen into the river turned into a dog. This all happened because Bahuchara was next to the pond. From that day, people seeking sons have thronged to her shrine. Hijras come because they believe that, by serving the goddess, they will be born as complete men or women in their next life. Other stories of this goddess tell us that she was a young girl who turned a thief into a hijra when he dared to molest her while she was on her way to her wedding. Others say that she was a bride who was horrified to discover that her husband was not a man but a hijra, and so turned into a goddess offering salvation to all hijras if they served her instead of marrying women. Thus, through this goddess, even the most marginalist minority is included by the divine. Image 1 belongs to no particular geography or community. She is the universal and timeless kitchen goddess, Annapurna, the mother who feeds. Without her, there is starvation, a universal fear. This makes Annapurna a universal goddess. But food alone is not enough to live a full life. One needs spiritual meaning. Image 1 depicts this, while Image 2 shows Annapurna as an enshrined deity. Her most popular shrine is located in Kashi, on the banks of the river Ganga. In Vedic times, 4,000 years ago by the most conservative estimates, seers composed a hymn called the Gayatri, saluting the divine, seeking the light of knowledge to pierce the darkness of ignorance so that the intellect is roused and all that one desires, materially or spiritually, is realized. At the time this hymn was composed, Hindus did not have temples. People worshipped the divine through chants and by making offerings to fire and water. However, chanting the hymn and contemplating on it was only possible for those with superior concentration powers. For most people, a more emotive approach to the idea was required, and so the hymn came to be visualized as a goddess. Image 2 through the adoration of this goddess, one hoped to get the same outcome as by chanting the hymn. Thus the idea of the Gayatri hymn came to be embodied within the image of a goddess called Gayatri. If Image 2 represents the yearning for basic physical fulfillment of man, then Image 2 represents the yearning for his spiritual fulfillment.